and I didn't want to admit that it was me. So I just kept talking. I'm just going to keep talking through the scene.
We have it on tape. He knew it was him the whole time because
It was
Kevin
me.
got blamed for it.
It was
but
me. Kevin got
he
blamed.
knew the whole time it was him. We have it on tape. Welcome to the Lion Killer podcast, where I interview the people that helped make my first feature film, Lion Killer. Today on the show, I have the male lead, Mr. Matthew Meehan. How you doing, Matt?
I'm great. I am great. How you doing?
I'm doing well, man. How's quarantine treating you?
It's definitely different. It's like a whole lifestyle change, but it's good, man. It's good. I've been handling it, I think, pretty well. All things considered.
For people that don't know Matt is the star and the male lead of my first feature film, Lion Killer. He's a local talent here to Houston, Texas, and I met him through the audition process of Lion Killer. And so before we get into Lion Killer, just tell me how you got into acting, Matt, and how that whole thing happened.
For sure. So, I mean, I'd always wanted to do it to some degree. I didn't really know that acting was like a thing you could do until I was probably in like middle school, and I did a play in middle school, and it was really fun, just kind of making people laugh. And I was like, oh man, this is kind of addicting. I like it. And I didn't do any acting in high school at all.
So what was your first audition?
So my first audition was for It's a Wonderful Life. It was a play at Stageworks Theater, and
Is that here in Houston?
Yeah, it's in Cypress. It used to be called Houston Family Arts Center, and then we went up to call ourselves Stageworks. And so that's the first. I'm gonna letting my cat in because he's gonna keep meowing if I don't let him in. So it was at Stageworks Theater. It's a Wonderful Life, and I was part of the ensemble, and that was kind of my first like little look at like a production, because like I said, my first one was in middle school, and that doesn't really count. Those are fun, but it doesn't really count. So being part of the ensemble process of like an adult production at a community theater, it was really, really different. And even though I was an ensemble, I was doing a lot. I was playing a lot of minor parts on the stage, and just in watching the leads do their thing, like at rehearsal, and then we did our first whole run during tech week. I was like, oh man, this is like, the excitement kept building, and like that's when I kind of caught the bug, so to speak. I was okay, I need to keep doing this. I just really, really like it. So that was my first play, and then I did a couple musicals at the same theater. I did Damn Yankees and Footloose. So that was my first time like singing and dancing on stage. So really it was like 3 to 6 months of me really getting out of my comfort zone more than I ever had before. And it was a huge growing and learning experience for me. And then after that, I got into, I did a short film, and then I did some shows downtown at Prohibition, some variety shows. And man, the more I did it, the more I fell in love with it. And then all that kind of like, was leading me to, something bigger. And that's where Lion Killer happened. That was the most recent thing that I've done, the biggest project that I've ever done. So everything was kind of leading up to that. And
so how did you first hear about Lion Killer? How'd that happen?
So it was like a friend of a friend. So this guy I knew who's also a filmmaker, he had a lot of scripts under the works, but like, he was like, I'm trying to really refine them. I'm trying to make sure I have the right actors for him and stuff. So, he would invite me in, and I'd go and read through these scripts with him. And, he was kind of like an acting coach. And randomly he reached out to me. He was like, hey, I know this lady, Michelle Robinson. He was like, she's casting for this project. They need a male lead. And I figured you'd be interested. So, here's her, if you want to, here's her contact information. So I reached out to Michelle, and Michelle got me in touch with you. And then that's how I heard about it in 2017, probably at that point, or early 2018. Like
I've been on this project for so many years.
Yeah, right. They're all kind of meshing together.
Blend together, yeah. So
that's how I heard about it, and that was man. That was it for me.
So you reached out, and I believe you sent in a self-tape audition. Was that the process?
Yes. So that was the first thing you had me do. You sent me the sides, and I did the self-tape. And my girlfriend was a very, very wonderful reader. She helped read for that scene, and That was fun. And then we sent that in, and then you had me come in to do the next part, which was the screen test, just at it was at HCC. Yes, at HCC. So we went and did the screen test there, and it was cool because like the further along I went with the audition process, the more like excited but also a little bit scared I got. I was like, this is like exciting because like it's coming across really really professional and really legit. But then at the same token, I started to get a little bit more nervous about it. I was like, oh man, this is kind of a big deal. Like, am I really, putting myself into this? Like, am I getting in over my head here? What am I doing? But I
Believe it or
just had to
not,
kind of,
yeah, believe it or not, I believe I had a lot of interest from a lot of people, and I think as soon as a lot of people, in the Houston market, there's a lot of work for commercials and things like that. I think the magnitude of being the lead in a feature film scared some people off.
oh, I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it, man. It almost got me, but I was like, I had to kind of have some moments with myself and being like, no, like, take, if this project is for you and it's, and you're right for it, like absolutely take it, like go for it, because I had moments of like, I don't know, like self-doubt or, like I don't know if I should do this. I don't know if I'm the best guy for it, but I was like, if all is happening naturally and organically and, you know, they believe that I'm the best guy for it, then I am.
So tell me about you're saying it looked professional, because I know once again, we're Houston has a lot of indie film work going on, commercial work, not really a
Right.
lot of studio work,
Yeah, yeah.
or major films being shot. Although there are indie films, and we do have a community that's putting a lot of hard work in. Um, why was it? Why was it odd that when you went in it was professional, or why was it impressive that when you went in everything looked
I think,
professional?
yeah, because just like you said, with Houston, there's I mean, it's no Hollywood, but like there's a lot going on in Houston, and I mean, just in my past experiences, and I'm sure a lot of actors know about this. You'll find out about some project that's being done, right? And more than half the time, it never turns into anything. It like,
Yeah.
you start filming it, and then like, oh, we're gonna reshoot or we're gonna do this, and then it just doesn't get finished. Most of the time, that's just what happens. Or, before you even start the project, you realize, oh, like this is kind of sketchy. Like I don't think I should do this. So there's just a lot of like you don't really know what to expect. And so that's kind of like the mindset I had going in was like, I don't know what to expect. So I'm just going to take it as it comes, take it as it happens. And so when I got, I'm so sorry. They're doing I don't know if you can hear the noise outside. They're like mowing and blowing and stuff. But
A little bit. You're good, bro.
anyway, yeah, that was my mindset going in. You good? Okay. I was like, I don't know what to expect, so I'm just gonna go with it. And so after the self-taped audition, and you invited me to HCC's campus, I was like, okay, that is a professional way to do this. Invite someone to an actual facility, and you guys had the room rented out, or you guys were using the room, the space. There's this big audio room, and you had like, you had backdrops, and you had lights, and you had frames set up and everything. You had the cameras. You had a whole table. You had you had a system, you had a team with you.
Yeah, we had a
And just
process of how to bring, of how to do the auditions, and I didn't hire the way the studio system works is you hire a casting director or a firm,
mhm,
and they handle that process. The director might sit in, whatnot.
mhm,
We did everything ourselves. This was a pure independent feature film, but I
yeah,
did have access and relationship with the film department at Houston Community College.
right,
We did use their facilities, but we did have a structured process of how to take people through the auditions and how to block people's time and whatnot. Because presentation is important,
oh yeah,
in life.
absolutely,
You don't want to, you could turn somebody off with a negative first impression, and especially actors that their whole job is to be emotionally open and available. You could really start on a negative downturn
yeah,
if it's just if it doesn't look legit. It just looks, like you said, a little sketchy.
yeah,
So
yeah.
so what was your first experience, your first audition in the room with us? How'd that go?
So that was when I started to get a little nervous of like how good this was looking, right? I was like, oh man, this is legit. They're doing this right. Like you said, they had a system, a process, and as I met everyone around the room, everyone seemed really on board and into it. I was like, okay, this is serious. So I got a little nervous, but I had to just kind of shake that and just jump into the scene. And so I remember I read with Leah, who was the AD, the assistant director for Lion Killer.
Leah M. Jones, great person, great professional.
Wonderful presence. And yeah, so I read with her, and that was fun for me. And she made it really easy, obviously. And let's see, after that,
did you meet Regina on that first? Was Regina there, the female lead? She wasn't there that first audition?
No, so that was the final one that you brought me in for. So I hadn't met her until that last that final audition process.
Okay.
But that day that I was there and I read through those sides with Leah, I was like, okay, like, I think that went well. I
call this my simultaneous plan A. Like, I want to get into acting, fight choreography, stunt coordination, things like that. Honestly, I've been wanting to do it my whole life. I just didn't realize till a later age that, like, oh yeah, that's an actual job. Like, you can actually be in front of a camera and do that stuff. Yeah, that's about the extent of my martial arts training. It's Krav Maga pretty much for a few months, Taekwondo for a few years, and now kickboxing.
What happened? No, don't tell me. I don't want to know.
I don't know. I guess I had a bad night.
That's it? That's all you're gonna say right now?
I don't know. What do you want?
What I want? What I want is a life without all this shit.
What shit?
I don't want to live a life surrounded by violence anymore.
Anymore?
I think I showed up. I was on time, and I think it looked good. Like
did I ask you any questions? I know we chatted a little bit. Do you remember anything from the first time we chatted?
Yeah, it's all coming back. I remember you asked me about like my acting background. You asked me about my martial arts background, because that was that's going to be a huge part of the story. Even though you weren't necessarily concerned with whether or not I was a black belt in jiu-jitsu or not. But you were concerned a little bit of like, okay, what do you understand about the martial arts world? Like, what do you know about that culture? And so that was I think a really important part of the conversation to start with. So, once I started talking about that, I think I got a little more comfortable, and I was like, okay, like, this is a story that I could tell, like going back to, the authenticity of it. I know I'm not a black belt, but I can tell the story of a martial artist for sure.
Yeah, and to speak to that a little bit, I mean, this is a story-driven film about, two people with intense pasts. So really, performance had to be paramount over other things. And to be honest, to find somebody who was a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and who also had experience in acting and could once again bring the kind of emotional performance and the emotional availability that I needed, and really ultimately the earnestness of the character needed to come out. To find that, and he's also happens to be a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, would have been extremely difficult, especially on the budget that we had. This being a independent feature film, we didn't have the ability to fly people in for auditions and fly people in for for the shooting process.
Right.
So let's jump ahead a little bit. We got out of that first audition. The next audition was the next audition you had with Regina.
Yes.
So that was we talked about this when I interviewed Regina. That was when it was down to you and I think 2, if not 3 other guys. And I don't know if maybe you don't know that, but we scheduled them. I think each one of you would show up an hour. So I don't think there was any of you guys bumped into each other. But we did it as it was a final audition / chemistry test.
Yes.
And so we did every other audition we had was in the sound stage of Houston Community College, or there was a self-tape, and then people would come and do a couple rounds of auditions at the sound stage. This was on HCC's property, but I did it it was the parking lot in my car.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was full on summer. I don't think it was too hot that day, but it was probably a little uncomfortable. And I also wanted to see how people reacted, because this would be a run and gun kind of shoot. And I needed someone who could act, who could pull off the martial arts, who was also not going to be uncomfortable with shooting in uncomfortable situations. Of course, that paid off when we had to shoot in the summer.
Oh yeah.
So it was also to see how the chemistry test between you and Regina, but also if you were a cool guy that was that would be willing to
Of
roll
course,
with punches, you know?
yeah, that's like the number one I think too is on-screen chemistry is super important for obviously the authenticity of the story and the believability of a relationship, but just in general, man, like I've never understood how people, they talk about their experience with actors on set, and these actors are just like the worst human beings. They're mean to
Yeah, you
everyone.
hear
They're
horror
divas.
stories.
They have all these little details of, well, I can't work under blah blah blah. Like it blows my mind, and I understand, maybe wanting like better for yourself or whatever, like having standards is fine, but at the same time, like just to be almost a nuisance of a presence, and like that you're being very very difficult. I've never understood how you can even be like that to people they're doing all the work, really. Like once they're dressing you, they're setting it up for you to tell the story. All you have to do is then speak or do what you're supposed to do, but without anybody else, it's not possible. So I've never understood how people could be.
Well, it's not just big stars. I mean, if you're on enough sets, you'll find local actors sometimes that they
That's
act
even
like
worse.
that.
It's like, who are you? Who are you?
We're all just trying to make it happen here. Let's at least try to get along.
Yeah. So that's
so
the
how
main
did it go
thing,
with you and Regina? How did so when you walked up, you first met Regina? What was that like? Who ended up being your co-star?
that was cool. That was cool. Like you can tell a lot by the handshake, just that first initial like, hey, nice to meet you. And I can immediately tell she was cool, and she was really really kind, and we were just talking about acting a little bit, and I got to know a little bit of her background, and I asked her if she knew anything about martial arts or what she did, and we talked about training and stuff, and just like the casualness of conversation just kind of put both of us at ease, and like, okay, like we can work together. There's a little subtle like subliminal, just telepathic, like I think you and I are gonna be fine kind of thing. And so just upon meeting, and then when we jumped into the scene, I mean, like she's an amazing actor. That's no secret. Like she's been nominated, she's won. She's done a lot more than I have for sure, professionally. But then once we jumped into the scene, and she just, that was a very emotionally heavy scene. She just went with it, man, and I was just, okay, I'll go with you then. And it was kind of like that. She just kind of
you were kind of following her lead and just kind of
a little bit. I wasn't I wasn't trying to lead the way in any way in this scene. I was like, I'm gonna go with the flow person, and like the scene, what it demanded was a little bit of the opposite. But I was like, for the sake of today and just kind of reading and getting comfortable with it and comfortable with her, and just the environment, I was like, okay, I'm not gonna I'm not going to try and lead the way on this. I'm going to go with the flow. I'm going to see what happens. I'm just going to respond naturally and react, right? Because acting is reacting. So she just made it really, really easy for me to respond, and that was it. It just felt like I didn't have to try. Everything felt natural, and
you guys felt like you had good chemistry. Well, look, I talked a little bit about this with Regina. Did you know? And I'm trying to find this out, that after your audition, someone on set had taken I think maybe B had took a picture of you guys talking to the side, because it was kind of clear. This was before you guys had started the audition. You guys had just met. I think B, if not somebody from the crew, took a picture of you guys talking, and you had your hands out like this, and then Regina sent a group photo to like everybody on the crew with you, and she had put like taco emojis on it. Said, "Look like you're looking." Did you know that?
No. What?
Okay, so then it became a thing, and other people would put different things, and then I hopped in and put like it was like a top hat to the side, and knives. It looked like you were throwing knives because your hands were just like this. So it looked like you were juggling. And so this went on. We were memeing you, like six, 7 people got in on it, or at least 6, 7 memes happened. So that's when I kind of was like, okay, look, I liked him. You were the guy I'd kind of zeroed in on. I wanted to see where Regina was at, because, you're going to have to be emotionally available.
Right.
And see what she thought about the connection and the chemistry. But, when she started sending that, and everybody in the crew started sending that, it was kind of like, okay, well, I think this is probably the guy, because if we're all comfortable enough to start memeing him,
Dude, I need to see these. I need
I
to
have
see all.
one. I have one. I'll edit
Okay.
it in on this. You'll see it on this. And I think I
Oh
also
my
put it.
gosh.
Me and Regina talked about it when I interviewed her. I'm sure it'll be in that one
That's
too.
that's hilarious, man.
If anybody has any of those, send them to me. I know B couldn't find any on her phone, but
I'll
I
probably
keep
make one.
everything.
Now I just want the original, so I'll do something with it.
Yeah, I'll send you the original. I have it in my phone.
That is
But
awesome.
yeah, so then you get cast. We go through the whole rehearsal process. What was it like? What did you feel? What was the feeling in your gut the first day on set? Do you
First day
remember
on
what that
set.
feeling was?
First day on set was trippy because I remember that was us our first date because we shoot things out of order, and so it was like me and Regina's character Noelle. We're gonna shoot our first date, right? And that was when it started to get really like all the butterflies and that those pre-show jitters.
Mm-hmm.
I was really starting to feel it, and I don't know, man. It just by minute, it just started to feel more right. It just started to feel. I just felt better about it. I was like, okay, like we're doing this. Like we're really doing this. We're professional. Like all the equipment was there, and the personalities on the set, like all the different crew people, just like cracking jokes and having fun, man. Like just
Yeah.
that first day of seeing everyone be professional and do what they needed to do, but also having fun, that made it like a million times more comfortable for me, and just like, okay, this is going to be good. Like it had that initial like, okay, this is a good feeling. I think this is going to do something, be something pretty good. So that was a good first day. That and whatever other scenes I shot. Dressed. Oh yeah, I remember I got dressed in my jumper, my janitor.
Yeah, yeah,
And so I was like, oh man, I'm loving this character, man. I'm loving it.
yeah.
So
Yeah, if you haven't seen the movie, the character has a day job where he's a janitor.
so much fun.
So that was one of the outfits that we definitely had to make
Yeah.
happen. But
So those are my feelings, man, going up to it. Like from the first read. So I remember that was when we first met everyone that was gonna, be on it.
yeah, well, yeah. Let's
First
jump
day
back a
read.
little bit. I
Yeah,
forgot to mention the table read. So what was the
yeah, yeah.
table read? What did that feel
Yeah,
like?
that was something else too, because again, the professionalism of it, and everyone went around, introducing themselves and talking about their background and which character they were going to play and why they were excited about it. And
You were a little
like
method though. You were a little method that day because I remember you were in costume,
yeah,
right?
because we did some promo shots right before
Sure,
starting
yeah,
the
yeah.
read. So I was in my gi and I was like, well, I don't want to take it off. Like I'm gonna stay in my gi for the read, obviously.
Yeah,
So
so yeah, for total clarity, he didn't show up. You didn't arrive, and he put
no,
the outfit on. We did do
yeah,
a small photo shoot,
yeah, that
and
would have been a
then
little
right
strange.
after. But yeah, you stayed in the whole time and read, and did that help you like read like
A
you're
little,
in the
yeah, yeah. It
you're in
put
a
me in
game?
it, man. It put me, when you're in costume, that's like that is somehow 50% of becoming, the character. So yes, a little method of me, but I was like, I'll leave it on. I'll do the read with it.
It
And
was fun.
it
Yeah, it was
was,
fun.
man, it was. And I was looking around, and while everybody was just reading their lines, like forget about shooting, but just doing the read and watching everyone, I was like, oh my god, this casting, this is some this is some good casting. Like everyone looks like who they're supposed to be.
You had
You
some
know?
heavy hitters in there. Yeah.
Yeah, and so everyone was talented. Everyone had a strong background. So I was just excited to, whatever day was going to happen, I was excited to work with everybody, just from that first read, and everyone was, having fun and cracking jokes, and yeah, man, I knew I was going to like it. I knew I was going to like everybody. But then it was also one of those days that was another, a little kick for me of like, okay, everyone here is the real deal. So like I need to step it up,
Hmm.
especially, being the kind of the forefront, like right up there with Regina, us being the forefront of this. I was like, I got to step my game up. Like I got to make sure that I understand the story and the character, and that I show
Yeah,
up.
because people, a lot of people may not know, but so, um, like I mentioned, there's a community here of actors and filmmakers and whatnot, and you're here in the lead. But if you looked at people's IMDb's, maybe you had a couple things. Maybe you didn't have as much experience. Some would say,
Right.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So was that something that you used to do better, or was that something that intimidated you? How did you feel thinking, hey, these people have done more? but I'm the, I'm the male lead.
It was absolutely, like you said, intimidating at first. It was absolutely intimidating, just like comparing myself and where I was at with acting and how many projects I'd done and whatever, just comparing all that to what everyone else had done. It was intimidating. I was like, oh man, I'm not at their level, so to speak. But then I had to, calm down and, reflect on it a little bit and remind myself, no, they picked me for a reason.
Yeah.
And I can do this. And I kind of had to give myself just that little, little pep talk of like, I'm here for it. And all I got to do is do my best. If I do my best and I trust the direction and I trust the people that I'm working with, then I'm going to be fine. So it was intimidating for like just like a minute, like a really, really small amount of time. I was scared. And then just on thinking on it for a little while, I was okay. No, you know what? I think I'm gonna be fine. I think if I just trust the process and trust myself, like I know I'm not bad at this per se. I think I'll be fine. So that's kind of where my mentality ended up, and it worked.
So we're all really in the same boat. What I wanted to do was just bring a bunch of talented people together and make a movie, make the story that had been burning in my head for so long. So, I mean, same with me. Every day on set, I'm going there and there's a new obstacle that I'd never faced. But, we're all building to the next thing. So now let's jump forward a little bit. We're on set. We're doing our thing. Everything's running. What are some of the most memorable, I can't even say it right now. What are some of the most memorable times you had on set during the shooting of Lion Killer?
As you know, I have a very fast metabolism. Derek, I get hungry really, really fast.
This is where I cut to the interview I had with Regina, because we talked about this.
Oh my God, Matt's stomach! It was so loud. I've never heard anyone's stomach grumble so loudly all the time.
You already know. There were instances where I would be like, we're mic'd up and we're doing the scene, and I remember the very first time, like I had a little stomach grumble. And I didn't want to admit that it was me. So I just kept talking. I'm just going to keep talking through the scene.
We have it on tape. He knew it was him the whole time.
It was me.
Got blamed for it.
It was me.
He knew the whole time it was him. We have it on tape. But that went on for throughout the whole thing. We would start shooting and you would just eat a meal and then you would just eat a meal. You would. My wife would make.
But I would be hungry. This is my life's problem, Derek. This is the problem that I still have.
This is his big problem. His metabolism is so fast it keeps him in shape no matter what he eats.
It's a terrible curse, actually. It's a blessing and a curse. I'm always hungry, and it affects me. Okay, so anyway, that was a constant thing we had where I had to keep eating,
Send your emails in to Matt to console him for having to eat copious amounts of junk food.
Yes, I very vividly remember those moments where I would be saying a line and then I would be aware of it. I would feel it, I'd hear it, and I'd just stay calm. I'll say it. I'll just keep going through the scene, and that was just a little obstacle that we just.
So we would end up just like giving you protein bars and chips in between
shots, just straight up. It was necessary. It's one of those things you find out. Okay, this is something we need to do. We gotta take care of. Make sure he's not grumbling. So I remember that. I'm trying to think. I remember the carnival when we were there, and one of the shots, you were like, okay, we can't use that one because you look genuinely scared. I was like, I was genuinely scared because Regina and I got on this ride, and I was like, I'm good with rides. I love amusement rides. It's fun. This one, it was very unsettling because it was shaking, and like it would catapult us around in like 360 huge circles. And at one point, it felt like we were gonna run into a couple things. I didn't like it. I really did not like that ride. So whatever facial reactions you got, because the camera was right there outside, that was genuine fear. I wasn't acting. I wasn't like, I need to act scared on the ride. No, I was genuinely not having a good time. So
I did end up using. So what I did because it was a great shot. I mean, it's just
right.
The way it was golden hour. The sun was right behind a tree or something, just shining through. We had all this free mise en scène from. We just went and shot at a carnival, and I'm like, okay, I'll give you guys direction. Which is this is Noelle taking Michael out on a date, just to give back for their first date, and okay, go on. We're just going to film you guys. It's still kind of, you're not in a relationship yet. This is building towards a moment where with a kiss. I remember I was standing right there. The camera department was getting the shot. I was there with Leah, the AD. And you guys get on the ride. It's just direction simple. Just get on the ride, take the ride. You're having fun. You're still getting to know each other. And the ride starts, and it looked like you were genuinely freaking out.
I was.
Yeah, and I remember, well, B was there. I know B was there, and and I remember we all looked at each other, and we're trying to figure out what's going on. And then Leah leans into me, and she goes, "Did you direct him to act like that?" And I look at her, I say, "Why would I direct him to act like he's horrified?" It's like she looked at it and we just kind of laughed it off. But it's like, why would I give this direction? It's like, Matt, go. As soon as the ride starts, just freak out.
No, no. I genuinely was trying to hold it in, but then all of a sudden, like, because it was a space too. Like there was like a light pole right outside of the safe circle of this ride. And I came within like 6 inches of hitting my face on this light pole. Like I didn't like how I didn't like it. I was just I was trying to keep it together because I know I'm going to come around again. Like the camera's going to see me. I'm trying to keep it together, but
this whole time Regina's trying to keep it together. Regina's sitting next to you. She's just like, hey.
She was doing a way better job.
I ended up because I had to use some of this footage. It was so good, so I ended up just taking like 2 seconds and slowing it down like 10%.
Yeah.
15%. Not where it's very slow.
Right, but it's still.
It just got you. Showed you guys for 3 seconds, 5 seconds, probably not even 5 seconds, and then we cut to the next ride. You guys are on the next day.
Carnival day.
But yeah, that was. Man. But it was fun. For everybody that doesn't know, the script and the if you haven't seen the movie, like I said, it's free on Amazon Prime, Tubi. Go watch the film, but especially if you're an independent filmmaker and you haven't made your first feature, you're trying to figure out ways to do things on the cheap. The way it's written in the script is we were supposed to have a day where we shot in Galveston on what they call it Galveston, Texas, the Pleasure Pier. There's a big Ferris wheel, there's rides, there's games, there's everything. Of course, when you're shooting an independent feature film, either you get back, maybe it rained one day, now you're behind a day. So at the last minute, we're like, okay, and I don't remember whose idea it was, but probably me or B, because the carnival was close to where we lived. So I assume it was either me or B, but could have been anyone on the set. We're going to go to this carnival. And so we shot Southwest Houston for Galveston is what we did, So
yeah.
If you're looking for ways to make something, like I said, give you a lot of mise en scene and it looks great. If you watch the film, there's the lights and it's packed with people.
People just kind of doing their own thing.
Yeah, they were just doing their own thing. And we were there, 2-3 people with a camera the whole time. And I also knew, I thought to myself, what's one place where I can shoot where the powers that be probably aren't going to mess with us? A carnival. Right. Are there some carnies going to come up to me and really want me to stop when I doubt it. So yeah, that whole scene was put together well. Big shout out to Vince Lichlighter who did the music for it. But yeah, definitely Matt does not like fast carnival rides.
I love them, and I love roller coasters, right? I can't explain it, man. That one ride, that's the only one I've ever been genuinely like not okay with. Like we did the Ferris, he's looking around like you're lying. I swear, man, I love it. Like the Ferris wheel was fun. I've been on roller coasters before that are just like crazy insane, like, but even then I'm like smiling, having a good time. That one ride, I can't explain it. It wasn't okay. It was not okay with me. It did not agree with me.
And that was the first ride. That was the first ride we got on.
The first one. So it was not a good first impression, and I understand why you don't believe me when I say that I love amusement parks.
Oh, it was a good memory. It was a fun memory. Me and B talk about it from time to time.
Yeah.
But what any other memories from set that you enjoyed?
We spent a lot of time in the dojo, Texas, Rock Solid.
Rock Solid Martial Arts.
Martial arts. I just loved it because just the more time I spent in a studio, like in a martial arts studio, it helps you get into the environment and get into the character a little bit. So just the more time we spent there, like I just kind of felt more and more at home. And you know, we had a lot of space. So like between shots, if I would just got restless, or if I wanted to like shadow box or stretch or whatever, I had all this space. And so we were low key like having little training sessions. And that was another thing. Another important memories that we had was just for the sake of authenticity. You got me started doing little jujitsu sessions before we actually started filming. So we went out to Rock Solid a few times and had a couple of like, you know, had those classes, just like how a class would actually go. Doing the whole warm up, you know, learning the fundamentals.
I put them through the paces, everybody.
Yes. Yeah. That was fun. And so anytime we were on set and we had, you know, we had like a break or some downtime or whatever, which was, you know, not common. But when we did, we were like, okay, let's train a little bit. Like, hey, here's this new move that, you know, that you should probably know. And oh, here's a cool little fun fact. Like, let's do some of this. So it was fun. Just kind of, you know, it was like a combined experience. Like I was getting to, you know, film, but at the same time I was getting to train and learn things. So I think most of the memories from the studio were very, very, very memorable and had a lot of fun attached to it.
So when me and you, we would discuss character. Was there anything that really helped you get into the character of Michael, this Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt? Was there anything that maybe I did or anybody else did or anything that maybe you just came up with that helped you get into that character?
It was his connection to his craft, I think, was the number one, like, you know, thing that we had in common. Because he was so, I mean, this jiu-jitsu was literally like it saved his life in a way. It gave him a new purpose from, you know, coming from a background where he probably didn't at that point feel like he had a purpose. He didn't really want to do anything. But then when he started to learn and, you know, became a black belt and went through that whole journey with his master, that was like that made him who he was. So for me, it was like, you know, having that same kind of connection to my craft of just martial arts training in general. And like, I've always loved the self-defense aspect of it. Just the knowledge that I can take care of myself and the people around me. Hopefully I'd never have to, like, I'm not a violent person. I don't ever want to, you know, get into it with anybody. But if I ever had to, that knowledge of like, I can be confident that I can take care of myself and the people around me. Just that connection to that, you know, very core part of his being and mine, just being the same. I think that was, you know, even though it wasn't jiu-jitsu specifically, for me, it was like, you know, boxing and kickboxing. And
I remember now, I guess it was the audition process. You told me a story that you'd done a smoker.
Oh, yeah. I did that, and I totally lost because I didn't have any ground game.
For people that don't know, there's amateur fighting, which is, you know, sanctioned or whatnot. Then there's you go to pro and whatnot. But a lot of guys start in what's called a smoker. It's called a smoker fight because back in the, you know, a gym will throw a fight and invite 4 other academies, and they're just it's a sparring match. But you know, you're encouraged to go maybe a little harder than a sparring match. It's really a weeding out process, or really a way to for people to go from zero experience before they get into even an amateur, so they can have a little bit of experience, combat experience. And they're called smokers because historically it'd be in a crowded gym and people are smoking cigarettes, and so they called them smokers. So you heard about this smoker and you just decided to go. Tell us the story.
Yeah. So it was a friend of mine. He actually trained at this place. It was 4 Ounce in Cypress.
Now this is before Lion Killer, correct?
Way before. Oh my God, this is years ago. I was like 18 or 19, and my friend had trained there a little bit and was like, "Hey man, they're gonna do this thing in a month. It's like a sparring night. I'm gonna sign up. That let's go together. And you know, we could probably, like, if we asked, we'd probably spar each other like in a more serious ring." I was like, well, I don't know if they'll let us choose, but sure, like, let's go together. It'll be fun. And then, like, the day before, actually, like, the day of, that morning, I texted him. I was like, hey, am I going to drive you? Or are we going to drive together? What's going on? And he was like, actually, I hurt my foot yesterday, so I'm not going to go. I was like,
yeah, he hurt his foot. Wink, wink.
Wink, wink, right. So I was like, well, I'm still going to go. So I went, and it was exactly like you said, man. All these guys knew each other. They were all, you know, from either that one academy or from multiple. They all had, like, multiple coaches with them, like, doing mitts and stuff. And like, I immediately was like, I should just walk out right now. But I was like, you know what? no one here knows me. I got nothing to lose. Whatever, let's do it. And they have you fill out this little form of like, describing what kind of experience you have. Do you have boxing, kickboxing, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, whatever, how many years of each? And so I told them I had like 0 wrestling, jiu-jitsu experience, whatever. And they're okay, cool. We just want
And
to
let
make
me
sure we
guess,
pair you with somebody.
they put you together with a guy who only grapples.
Yeah, that is exactly what happened. The dude was like, 5'6", 5'7", like significantly smaller than me, but he was built like a tree trunk, solid 180, because that was my weight class. And yeah, I was like, okay, this will be fun, it'll be interesting. And yeah, like obviously for the first 30 seconds, I was able to outstrike him and move around, be out of his range, and do all this. And then he went for a takedown, and guess who has no takedown defense? Me. So we went to the ground immediately, and I knew some very, very basic fundamentals for just how to get someone to bump them off you. And so I tried that a little bit, and I finally got him off me. And when he was off me enough for me to stand up, like the 0 experience that I have, I turned away from him to like stand up. So I turned back to him.
Rookie move. You're gonna get your back every time. That's actually one of the hardest things to teach people coming, like white belts in jiu-jitsu first day. It's like, do not turn your back. Anytime you turn your back, you're done.
That was it. That was it.
Kind of grappling. And just so people, I guess, kind of understand why a matchmaker would do that. Being somebody, I've match-made fights, I've promoted fights, and all that stuff, MMA fights. Styles do make fights. You hear people say that styles make fights. So the goal, especially when you've got people that aren't very well-rounded, so you've got guys on the right who are really good at kicking and punching. You got guys on the left that are really good at grappling. So you typically do want to match these two people together because of the conflict it creates.
Yeah.
You will see people match striker up against a striker if they're two headhunters. They want to get a knockout. So you'll match these two guys. They're going to swing for the fences, so that maybe you get a good knockout, and the fans love it. But typically, when you've got a guy that primarily grapples and a guy that primarily, or girls that primarily strikes, you want to force that conflict. It's like storytelling, really. Okay. So you got to have conflict. So the person that grapples is trying to force the takedown, and that forces the person who strikes to sprawl and keep it standing. And in that inherent conflict, you're telling a story, and the fans ultimately are satisfied, hopefully, if it's a good fight. So it's not really like, some people might say, why would they do that? That's shady business. Really, they're just trying to make good, interesting fights that people enjoy.
Yeah, and it was interesting. And it was a learning experience for me, because that was, what I ended up telling myself was like, if anything, I'll come out of here learning something. And that was the number one thing I learned was, okay, I do not know how to wrestle at all, or roll or grapple or whatever you want to call it. I know none of that. So I think if I were to, learn that, then I'd probably be a little more well-rounded. And so it was a learning experience for me.
So he got your back, he choked you out. Now that was basically the end of that.
Yeah. It was like he definitely had it like locked up and everything, and like I'm trying to think of a way out of it, and I'm thinking.
Tap. That's the way out of it.
I start to slowly like kind of space out, and I'm like, am I passing out? This isn't worth it. After like 10 seconds, I was like, okay, stop, I'm done. Not worth it.
I've never been choked out, but I've definitely seen stars like tapped right before it was. You see like little pops, pop. I'm like, oh wow, I was almost out on that one.
That was exactly.
But so then we wrapped production on Lion Killer. What was that like for you? Like donating? I won't say donating, but you were a part of this family of creatives for several months over the course of a summer, and then it finally coming to an end.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like grieving in a way, not to be like, not to put any depression into it, but there is a little bit of like, you've been a part of something for that long, and then all of a sudden it's over, no more. Mm-hmm. Like something that become very, very routine for me, like show up on set this day, we're there for 12, 14 hours or longer. And all of a sudden it just stops. And then it's like, wait, I have my weekends back. What do I even do with my life? So it was very different. And I think there's a little bit of a kind of, like I'll say grieving, just kind of a, letting go process. of like this project that you worked on that you got really, really close to and you had a lot of fun with. That, you know, you go through that emotional, you're living through it all over again. Like you're kind of seeing it flash before you. And I had moments like within weeks, just like the first 2 weeks of being wrapped, like not doing it anymore. I was like, man, I wanted to shoot that scene again. I could have done that better. Just random thoughts would come to my head of like, man, I need to do that one again. Or, oh man, I wish we could do this or that or whatever. And then you kind of have to, you know, wrap your head around it. Be like, nope, it's over. It is what it is. Accept it, you know, and you just have to trust that you did your best and that it's going to come out looking great. And that's the other thing too, is as an actor, you have zero to do with the editing process, zero. And I don't want to, you know what I mean? Like at least right now where I'm at, I don't want to be in the editing process. Obviously later on, if I'm, you know,
and I definitely don't want an actor in the room when I'm editing their scene.
No, you don't. I know you don't. Because then I will be the definite wrong voice for opinions. But yeah, you don't have any control over it, so you have to kind of relinquish it. You have to be like, okay, no, I did what I was supposed to do. I said what I was supposed to say. Now I have to just trust that they're gonna put this huge crazy puzzle together, and you know that picture is gonna come up, and you just have to trust that it's gonna be good. If everyone does their job, then it will be. And so that was the main thing after wrapping that I had to kind of get through quickly.
Same here. It was kind of like the weeks after, because we shot on weekends over the course of, you know, we shot Saturdays, Sundays. Every now and then there was a Friday,
Right.
Probably 2.5 months. And once it was over, it's kind of, next couple of weekends are like, this is just weird. What am I, you know? Of course, I had to hop on to editing, but it was just weird not to be going on set and seeing the same people. Now, let me ask you this. What was it like working with a young actor named Derek Fury?
Oh, so this guy, Derek, man, he's got so much promise. He just blew me away.
They all say.
It's so no, but it's weird because I mean, again, this is my first project, so I don't really have much to compare to. But I do hear, just based off of conversations, that it can be weird or almost funny to do a scene with the guy that's most of the time behind the camera directing you. Then all of a sudden he's right there in front of you, and you guys are talking together in the story. So it can be funny doing that little flip. But it was fun, man. We had fun. You were believable, Garrett. You know, you were hilarious. Like everyone, you know, you saw the reviews. People were like, man, we loved Garrett. Like he was just this awesome, funny, down to earth guy who was like the source of, you know, reflection and wisdom in the movie. And it was
and that was a last minute switch, because did you ever meet the actor that was originally cast for that?
Oh, I remember that you switched it, but I didn't meet the guy.
Yeah, he backed out. So, you know, I think maybe that what you're saying, you know, to speak to what you're saying, that might be the difference in that a lot of, if you're some people come at it from, maybe I'm an actor at heart and I'm going to make a film as a means to, you know, promote myself as an actor. Yeah. And actually, I don't see anything wrong with that. I think it's, in this day and age, it's probably the right thing to do. Yeah. But you have the potential of running into people who they're the writer, director, producer, and actor in the film. And if they're the lead, or if they're a smaller role, they're going to kind of force themselves to be a bigger part, because they're thinking about their reel and getting an agent and all that stuff. And for me, it really wasn't that. I had someone else cast who couldn't do the role in the last minute. It was kind of obvious that we needed somebody who had a martial arts background, maybe knew some judo, was the same age as I am, and it was just kind of like, okay, well then, who's that person? Yeah. And I don't have to pay myself, so that actually worked out. That worked out, saved me a little money, not really saving money I can allocate towards somewhere else.
Yeah, you're saving money, and like, you know that you can pull it off. Like you fit the description, and I mean, you wrote it, so you know the material. And
well, I had a lot of fun in our scenes together, and I know it was hot often, especially some of our scenes were indoors, but most of our scenes were outdoors. Yeah, I don't know what was hotter, inside or outside. and I know a lot of
They were the same. Fun fact, everyone listening, literally every time it was cut or every time we're switching shots, we're wiping our faces. We're wiping down the sweat because just like in the middle of a scene, like 20, 30 seconds in, we're going down the page and like the little beads are forming. It was just so hot. So that was another obstacle. We had to get rid of that shine constantly and try to stay fresh.
It would be an issue in continuity if, and honestly in editing sometimes it was, because even when I had to edit myself, there'd be beads and no beads of sweat. But even the indoor scenes we shot at Rock Solid Martial Arts, which, it's like most martial arts schools. It's basically a warehouse that's now a martial arts school. And of course, another filmmaker thing is if you're going to, and I see movies all the time where I could tell they left the AC on when they were shooting.
Yeah.
So you want to cut the AC off so you can get clean audio. And of course, we'd cut the AC off. And in between shots, not only did we have, Leah and B and a couple other people who would towel you down, you and Regina. That towel never came to me from members of the crew for some reason. The director didn't get toweled down.
Oh, you didn't get that attention.
But we'd also have fans. I know I've got some pictures with like B and a couple people holding fans on you guys.
Cooling off. A little sweaty here. Thank you, B. Appreciate you.
One fan today.
But I do want my actors to be as comfortable as possible. And I understand it's Texas in summer, no AC in a warehouse, but also, it's a nightmare in continuity if you're consistent. When you cut the scenes together, you're not cutting them in the order you shot. So you cut scenes together that it's going to be just out of continuity. This just your hair is wet now and everything.
Like sweaty with like damp hair and everything, especially for me with like, long hair. I had to make sure the ends weren't like damp, So I had to be constantly drying. It was a part of the process, man. It was part of the learning process for us, like part of the adjustments that we had, the many adjustments that we had to make. We were learning very early on, oh man, temperature is going to be a big part of this whole project. So we should definitely be ahead of that.
Yeah. And that was another thing that originally I was trying to, the winters here in Houston are pretty mild and comfortable compared, of course, to northern states. Yeah. But of course, in for casting reasons and other reasons, we had to keep pushing off actual production. So then, of course, exactly what I didn't want to do. We had to shoot in summer, but I knew it'd be miserable. But that's what indie film is. Indie film it's kind of like just it's dealing with whatever you have, and if it's cold, if it's the weather, if it's hot, get the shot. Do it to the best of your ability and make your movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was fun, but you were just whenever we shot a scene together, it was fun. Whether we were just like smoking or just talking, like you were funny, man. You were very funny. And
no, I do remember. I am a stickler for authenticity, of course, with jiu-jitsu and just everything. I remember I had to pull you aside and talk to you about smoking, like.
Oh, well, of course.
Because I felt like a few times I was just like, okay, puff, and I'll just kind of like, you have to actually look like you're comfortable with the cigarette. It's a part of this character. And of course, a part that eventually, watch the film, but eventually he does get over that habit. Yeah. But it's something that anybody who's ever smoked a cigarette would go, hey, this guy's not a smoker. I didn't want that. So I remember pulling you aside, be like, hey, I've looked at what we shot.
Yeah, I did.
It doesn't look like you're actually smoking, man.
Yes, I did my best to, and I definitely needed smoking lessons, but I did my best to look relaxed and just look like this is just a part of my hand and whatever. Mm-hmm. But that was another learning.
And it wasn't a big deal. It was just like, hey, and not every scene you're not smoking, but
you look like you're scared of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I knew it. I was like, I gotta get used to this.
So what have you been up to since we've wrapped Lion Killer? What's going on in your world? I know you're teaching some kickboxing, and what else you got going on?
Actually, I did do a smaller project, a smaller part on a different project that I guess was supposed to come out this year, but I guess with everything going on right now, that process is probably thrown off. So we'll see about that. But other than that, man, like you said, I've just been teaching, where I teach. So I teach boxing, kickboxing.
Are you looking to continue acting? I know sometimes you'd mentioned want to get into stunt work and whatnot, or?
Yeah, I want to do it all, man. I want to do more acting. I want to, tell more stories. I would love to be, on a stunt project and, do more fight choreography for sure. Cause that was something that we did that was very minimal in Lion Killer. There was only like 2 or 3, sequenced events, like not just between, me and CJ, but like people on the mats and the tournaments and stuff like that. Those little sequences were fun. So that's something I do definitely want to get into. And part of my goal for 2020, which obviously a lot of people's goals in 2020 are currently postponed due to the isolation thing. Part of my goal was like, I'm going to work, save up, and we're going to get this computer with all this editing software, and I need to get a camera, and I'm going to just start shooting fight sequences, and we're going to I'll practice my editing and putting things together, and work on that skill set, because I would love to do more fight choreo and stunts.
Any last words? Anything you want to leave us with?
Just stay creative, stay engaged in the arts, man. That stuff will get you through anything, I think. And we just kind of have to focus on that and just take it one day at a time. And that I think those would be my last words, that we're going to be all right.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming out, Matt. Thank you for doing an awesome job at Lion Killer. And we appreciate your time, and I'll be talking to you soon, man.
For sure, man. Thanks for having me on. I had a good time.